Well, boys and girls, we got some exciting news when it comes to James Gunn's Superman. Some news that, well, I think proves that I've been right this whole time. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to allow myself get full of myself here, but there's a lot of people out there who are saying, well, this is exactly what we've been afraid of. This is exactly why James Gunn should not be doing a Superman movie. But I sit there and say, why? This is some great news. This is some excellent news. This is exactly what we want in a Superman movie. But what is it that I'm talking about? Well, let me pull that up for you. Anthony Carrigan, who's playing Metamorpho in the upcoming Superman movie, was talking to The Hollywood Reporter, I suppose. He's in a movie called The Death of Unicorn, and he got some questions about the upcoming movie of Superman. He goes, I'm hesitant to liken it to Guardians, but I do think that Superman has the same heart and intelligence. That's James Gunn's trademark. But I think it's going to be its own thing entirely. The process of working on it was such a special one, and the whole cast was on board with bringing something really special to it. So, hopefully, that's conveyed on screen. Now, like I said, I have seen people on social media already trashing these remarks, saying this movie is doomed. This is exactly what James Gunn said wasn't going to happen. First off, that is not accurate at all. This is actually what James Gunn has been saying, and this is what a lot of people have been hoping for, specifically the studio, and not just DC Studios, but Warner Brothers Studio. Here's the thing. If we step back for a second, okay? James Gunn was absolutely going to make a James Gunnish film. He has a very particular style. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've said over the course of many months that this movie was going to have a James Gunn feel. But James Gunn has also said that it's going to be something different than he's made before. He has said that. He has said that this is a different type of movie than he's ever made. Well, Anthony Carrigan says just that. He says he's hesitant to say this is, feels like a Guardians movie because in reality, as he goes on, it's its own thing entirely. So he's hesitant to liken it to Guardians. But the reason why he does, even just a little bit, is because that is James Gunn's trademark. Which is fine. Each director has a trademark. But it's also its own thing entirely. But what is James Gunn's trademark? Something I say all the time. Something that DC built an entire 10-year franchise on TV with. Heart, humor, heroics. Heart, humor, heroics. That is a staple of James Gunn, especially when it comes to superhero films. And there are literally people sitting there saying, well, that's a bad thing. It's wild to me. It is absolutely wild to me that anybody could sit there and say that this is a bad thing. Now, we just talked just the other day about Ben Affleck's comments about DC and the direction that it was heading while he was portraying Batman. Specifically, earlier on, before he came back for The Flash. And those comments that he made are very telling. His comments specifically about how everything was moving to becoming too adult. Very, very adult. That his son, his kid, couldn't even watch because it was too scary. And you take a step back. Even Ben Affleck had to take a step back and realize that, whoa. These movies, they're made for kids too. They should be made for kids. And he realized that maybe we should be heading a different direction than this. That's Ben Affleck. Now, not only was Ben Affleck like that, but Henry Cavill for quite some time also had similar feelings. I've talked about that many, many times. Henry Cavill, when he was pitching the idea of of his sequel to Man of Steel, when him and Macquarie were pitching the idea. He was Macquarie, the director of the Mission Impossible films, the recent Mission Impossible films. He wanted to take Superman in a more hopeful, bright direction. Why? Because he felt, much like what Affleck was feeling, that it was headed down a more adult place prior. And he wanted to take it in a new direction. That is what the DCU is doing here. Now, the DCEU under Walter Hamada, they attempted to do that. They tried. But I always say it was too far gone. Shazam was a very good effort. The first Shazam was great. Aquaman was good. But you then have movies that either had some kind of agenda, laden underneath of it, or it just didn't have a good story. There were just issues. There were issues because you're trying to then appease two sides of the coin. You're trying to appease the people who want the dark. You're trying to appease the people who want the more humor-laden and filled films and the more lightheartedness. And it just didn't work because you're trying to appease both within a single film. And that's why the DCEU eventually failed. Sure, there's issues that happened prior. We all know those issues. But James Gunn right now, as Anthony Kerrigan says, he is putting his James Gunn trademark on this movie. The heart, the humor, the heroics. But it's going to be its own thing entirely as well. And that's exciting. That brings me so much hype and excitement towards this movie. But Slav, why should we listen to the cast and crew? I get it. I've talked about this too. When it comes to the cast and crew, yeah, the cast will obviously talk up a movie that they're in. They'll talk up a director. They'll do that. But most of the time, if the cast doesn't have something good to say, if the crew doesn't have something good to say, they're not going to say anything at all. That's most of the time. You also have a track record when it comes to James Gunn, where the cast truly loves working with him. They truly adore his style and his type of directing, storytelling, and everything. Whether it's an animation with Creature Commandos, whether it's what he did on Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, whatever it is, you go back and you see these interviews with the cast and the crew. They all come out and they just say how great it is working with James Gunn, how much fun it is to work on set, how great the movie making experience was. So when it comes to Anthony Kerrigan here, I kind of put some stock into it because we see a track record of so many different cast and crews talking highly of James Gunn and praising James Gunn in his films. Like, I could see if this was the first time it's ever happened and he's had a track record of people actually ragging on him. But he has a track record of people always praising him and then delivering. So I put some stock into this. And this is exciting. Yet people will try and twist it and say, this is exactly what I was afraid of. James Gunn is not good for this because he can't do his James Gunn typical trademark in this movie. That's not what it... Guys, we've seen less than a minute and a half of this movie so far. You can't take what you see from leaked images on behind-the-scenes photos. Like, do people understand this? Sure, we're going to get a full official trailer here probably within the next week. We're going to have a better understanding of this movie. Then you can start really getting a picture of how you want to feel about this film. But even then, you should see the movie before you really give your full and just or unjust opinion. Honestly. Look, I believe the movie's going to be fun. I believe it's going to be a damn good time. That's my belief. Because I have faith and I trust what James Gunn can do because I've seen his track record. Sure, I've been disappointed with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But everything else I've really enjoyed. So that's why I have trust. That's why I believe this film has a chance, and it's probably going to be damn good. But let me know what you think. Do you like what Anthony Carrigan says here? What do you think about what all the naysayers are saying? Do you think they're accurate? Do you think they're right? Let me know in the comments below. Very close to 2K. I'm like 5-6 subscribers away. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe, guys. Come on. If you're not a subscriber, hit it. Just help a brother out here. Help a brother out. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. Get me to 2K. That'd be great. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.